Thank you for having me, Migrant Leaders, for inviting me to become a mentor and actually have an opportunity to speak to you all at this conference. Just quickly introduce myself. I'm Cecilia Lamb, but people call me Cici. So you can call me Cici anyway. So I just want to spend about a couple of minutes to talk you through my career journey, the step that I took, something that I learned along the way, and I hope that, everyone can at least take one thing away today. So first of all, I want to pass on a wisdom first before I start talking about myself, because it's an earlier wisdom that I took from a mentor of mine when I started my career. Her name is Angel, and someone that I really respect. And she told me that career is like running a marathon. It's full of obstacles, but you need to keep moving. And I remember she was explaining to me about why is it running a marathon but not 100% meter sprint or a 500-meter sprint? Because marathon runners need to prioritize endurance. You need to know when to stop, or technically not stopping, slowing down, or running fast in the right time and the right environment. It's basically take endurance, patience, and consistent effort to actually finish a full marathon. It's not easy to be done. And I kind of reflected my career and I can really relate to it. So as you can see, kind of this, timeline map that I put together, I'll tell you a little bit about myself first. So born in Hong Kong, I had my GCSE equivalent in Hong Kong back then. And honestly, I wasn't a very particular bright student. I think if you kind of convert to the number scale right now in GCSE, our average, I think 4 or 5 grades. Some of them are probably better at 6, I would say. And then I moved to Australia to continue my education. And obviously, 20 years ago, I graduated from Master of Human Resources Management from a university in Melbourne called Monash University. I know that I want to get into HR, but I didn't know how to do it. So I remember back then you really newspaper or getting into like some, very simple um, job advert site. And I landed a job as a recruitment consultant in a very small agency. The agency is probably about 10 people. And obviously, as my first job, I just need to learn something. And this first step taught me something very important. You don't actually need to know your whole career plan on day one. It was just a starting point because I was never imagined that, like from that small agency of 10 people, that I actually could get to work into a huge corporation like Citi. And obviously, about a year or so, I knew that it wasn't the right place for me. I keep exploring, and then I got an opportunity to move to one of the big four companies and become an early career coordinator. So I started as career coordinator, and then I got, opportunity to progress my career. I then moved into a recruiter role. I learned the foundations of HR, how to organizing things, how to talk to candidates, how to understand what manager needs. So what I learned there is really basic HR technical skills. And actually, again, looking back, right, I was thinking, oh, I really did not rush it. I really built on learning my good foundation. Then I actually got a phone call from someone that I worked with when I was in PwC. She joined JP Morgan, obviously a very leading investment bank. So she told me that they were actually setting up our talent acquisition or recruitment function back then because it wasn't common back then in-house in an organization that you actually have a recruitment quote unquote function. So I joined JP Morgan. I actually started again in my career because I went from being a recruiter at PwC to actually started as a coordinator again at JP Morgan. But later on, I got an opportunity. I moved in different roles at JP Morgan, and I actually led the recruitment for asset management function for the whole Asia Pacific region. That was a turning point for me. Yeah, I can see that in my career. I wasn't just filling roles, I was able to actually really understand the businesses, starting to build senior relationship and learn how to manage pressure and work on different projects. And what I then learned is actually communication. It's one of the key things that differentiate someone in their career journey. And then there are some personal reason I have to let JP Morgan, and then I managed to secure a role at BNY Mellon, another big financial services company. Um, and then I actually got to expand my opportunity from just, filling positions behind hiring, working on talent acquisition projects, initiative, and that taught me how to fix problems, improve processes, and actually managing stakeholder, manage change basically. So what I learned at that time was really career growth when there's new opportunities and new skills building on existing foundation. Then I got a call again because Citi at that time in Asia Pacific was trying to actually revamp their whole early career initiative. And because of my background of that, um, I got an opportunity to actually join the early career transformation for the Asia Pacific region, again, based in Hong Kong. I had a couple different roles in Hong Kong in Citi, and then I actually moved from, just leading certain smaller functions into a regional leadership TA role. When I left Citi Hong Kong, I was leading the North Asia talent acquisition function. Then I got another opportunity. It's brought me to London. So 4 years ago, Citi had a consent order. Quote unquote consent order means actually they has a huge fine. So they had to feel something huge within the whole Citi group. I then moved into doing HR transformation, basically creating something that the entire bank did not have back then about how do we use skills to quantify the capability of the organization, and how do we make sure that in certain areas of the pockets in the organization, if there's lack of skills, there could be some risk in it. And how can we make sure that risk would not become a bigger problem for the organization? So managed 4 years ago to move from quote unquote a regional Asia Pacific role into a global role. And I also moved myself into not just taking something from the headquarter or US to execute, but actually creating something for the organization to understand what skills people have and what do we actually need for the future. So at least in my current stage of my career, I'm learning that career evolve when I am ready to embrace change, and I'm really not fear for that. Why I like to work in the financial services or banking industry, and that's probably a couple of things that I really enjoy about my job. The first thing is I really enjoy what I do every day. And I think it's a very fast-paced environment in banking. I learn something new every day. I feel like nothing is really the same. I also are able to build new ideas or introduce new ideas to an organization as big as Citi. That change how it works. And one of the really good thing about working in such a big organization is I work with people around the world, and I also learn to manage a virtual team that people sit in India, Ireland, and also in the US. And this is something I can think back, right? I can talk about, right, the marathon running and all that. I would never imagine when I started as a junior, recruitment consultant in a 10-person firm. And I think that's really the beauty of a long career and how you kind of have that resiliency and endurance while running that career marathon. So looking back at obviously each of these chapter of my career, there are a couple of advice I would like to share with everyone on the call, like a lot of the young people here. The first tip I always say to people is stay curious. I don't think it's just the banking industry and all that, right? Every job industry technology is changing so fast, especially now everyone is thinking about AI, what does it mean for me and all that. Curiosity keeps everyone relevant. And your degree or something that you learn from school, it's really just the beginning, it's not the end. I think I'm quite lucky to build an HR career where I were a major or had a master in HR. But a lot of people, when you actually talk to them, they might be doing something very different at their study, and then they don't know how they got in and end up in a different career, right? So what I'm trying to say is it doesn't matter, right? Keep learning. It's the most important thing, and it's the most and able to learn is the most important skill that you get throughout your whole working career. Do not overthink every decision. I think it's okay to not have everything figured out when you're 18 or even you're 28 or 38, right? Because you don't know what will come to you next. Like I would never imagine myself moving to London 4 years ago with my whole family, right? I never imagined myself coming from a talent acquisition background and now doing something completely different in my career. And I think sometimes you just need to kind of brave enough to take the next step, learn from it, and course correct later. And your story is your own power because no one can actually tell your own story and be confident about it while you're writing your own story. So I think the last tip that I kind of tell you is if you know your strength, do something that you're good at and just kind of continue to write that book. For anyone who probably interested to join the banking or financial services, um, rather than telling you what the requirement is, I want to, because I'm a skills quote unquote expert, I want to talk about the skills that you need. The number one skills is teamwork because you're going to work with a lot of people in a lot of different functions. And I don't think that is just a banking thing, right? You need to kind of have the ability to communicate well because no one person can do everything. And because of the environment that we're in, there's so many changes, they're so fast. Make sure that you're very adaptive, you're comfortable with change and uncertainty, you'll be fine. And also make sure that you take good ownership, you aim for high standard in your job because people would not remember what you know, but people will remember how you work and what you're going to deliver. And obviously, you do need some technical skills to be able to work in the banking industry. I'm not going to going into that details because different areas of the banking industry would require different technical skills. That's for everyone to figure out or ask me if you want to know more. You need that. And obviously, to be able to communicate what you do and what you know, you need to have good communication. Just watching my time there, I probably close with 30 seconds with everyone with one tip that hopefully you can take away. I think one of the takeaway for all of you is career don't move in straight lines. At least mine did not, right? So in every role, even in very small role that I did, I think I've learned something from it. And I hope everyone can keep learning and remember that career are running like a marathon and not a sprint and just keep moving forward one step at a time. So thank you.